Hey, so want to talk about getting a gun ready for, an alpine hunt or really any hunt.
We are MDT. We design, test, and create precision rifle chassis and accessories to help you shoot better.
It relates a lot to what I've learned on the competition side. Everything's torqued down, right? Barrel torque's perfect, action screws are torqued, scope torqued, everything's perfect. Brakes tight, you gotta check everything. I want everything clean. I pull the bolt apart on a cold weather hunt. I'll pull the firing pin assembly out. You don't want a lot of grease in there. On a cold weather hunt, that grease will thicken up and you'll either get a soft strike or your gun won't go off. Just in the Arctic, I completely degreased everything, so there's no nothing on anything because it gets so cold. I prepare the gun the same way as regards to load development. I want to find the most accurate load from what I'm shooting. Obviously, a 20-pound comp gun is easier to shoot than an 8 to 10-pound lightweight Magnum. So maybe my standards aren't quite as high as a competition gun, but I want my gun to have a low extreme spread or SD speed-wise. I want my load workup to be consistent and accurate to where I can hold, half MOA would be awesome. If I can shoot 3-inch groups at 600 yards from hunting positions, I'm thrilled to death. Obviously, back to the equipment, I gotta have trust in my scope, trust on my gear, so I'm using top-end stuff for my, my chassis. I like the Hunt 26s a lot on these. I still run the Mark 5s. I love that scope for the performance and weight balance. They're not a terribly heavy scope, but I do trust them to take abuse. I like to build confidence in my equipment. I'm not shooting 10-round strings like I am in a comp gun, but my first shot has to be, I want it to be perfect. I don't want any first-round flyers or cold bore anything. Some people say cold bore comes from a shooter that's not warmed up. I don't know that I necessarily believe that when I'm in a rock solid prone position. I want that bullet going in the same spot every time. And so I'll go up before work, I'll take 1 or 2 shots. All right, it's right in there. A day or 2 later, I'll do it again. The week before, I like to shoot it a couple times, and that's more personally, you don't have to. I just like to build confidence in my equipment, know that where I point it, it's going. In conjunction with that is making sure my binoculars, I do a lot of range finding binos with ballistics in them. That's what I use in Interval Hunter and also in hunting, and I've come to trust those a lot. So I'm checking that every time. I'm ranging the target and using that dope, the elevation for my turret to engage that target. I want to trust those. So I'm proofing the binoculars as much as the gun at the same time, elevation wise. So in the weeks leading up to that, I'll make sure that everything lines up just perfect. I want to be 100% confident in my gear. It takes me a few days to do that. When I'm flying to a competition, a lot of times my comp gun will go into my Pelican in the foam. On hunting trips, I have a soft case. I pull the foam out. I have a thin top layer and a thin bottom layer, but then I put my gun in a soft case, because on hunts, a lot of times you'll fly somewhere, you'll get there, then you can pull your soft case out to throw in a boat or a rig or a plane or wherever you're flying or going to. It's nice to have a soft case. That's a tip where a lot of guys will still fly in their normal foam like they're going to a comp. So swap it out, take a soft case. 20 rounds is a lot to take on a hunt, but I like to take plenty. I take what I think I'll use, 4 to 6. If I've got a wolf tag or some other things where I might run into, maybe I'll throw in 12. But I also like to have some extras in case a fall happens. Say your gun's in a scabbard, your horse takes a spill, you're falling, you take a spill, someone kicks it. Oh yeah, I had it leaning up, I can't remember what happened, got kicked over onto the scope. Always want to check it. Generally, you can find a canyon or somewhere before you're into your main hunting area where you can shoot a rock. I love shooting rocks. I'll make sure my buddy's spotting. Generally on a hunt, I've got my spotting scope and I use this all-in case that snaps onto my lens so I can film through my spotter. I set it up, I range, I make my best wind call and take a shot. I like shooting 400 to 600 yards to eliminate, you're gonna know if your gun's on, and you eliminate some of the bigger canyon winds or something that could throw off where your bullet actually lands. And I'll take a shot at a rock, pretty easy to measure, especially when you've got it recorded, you know exactly where you hit. Weather-wise and gun care, I think is very important. A buddy was on a hunt this year, and he was treating his gun like trekking poles. He kicked it over and was moving around and kicking snow on it. Well, then it warmed up and it ended up melting during the day. It's super cold. It was in the single digits that night. Next morning, everything's frozen. He gets up to shoot it. A mule deer comes out. Everything's frozen. The trigger's frozen. He got water inside. Don't do that. It's just common sense. But guys, I swear, some guys treat it like, oh, it's tough, it's a tool, and yes, it is. but you're also not shooting 100 yards with an open sight 30-30, okay? So take care of your stuff. So I like to keep stuff as dry as possible. I like to, pretty much on every hunt now, I put electrical tape on my muzzle. So I run a brake, I wrap a piece over the ports and over the top, and then I go around it all the way down so it's completely sealed. I like to take some sort of a rain cover to keep as much rain off as I can. Or if I've got the Hunt 26 folded up, a lot of times I'll run that in my pack with something around it, keeps it pretty dry. Just use common sense and don't treat it like a hammer. Keep it as dry as you can, dry it out when you can. Be aware that wet during the day freezes at night. Check it in the morning, check your bipod, check your bolt, dry fire. I'll dry fire every time. Be obviously careful, triple check you're empty, safe direction. Dry fire a couple times. Never a bad idea to make sure your firing pin's falling good, your trigger's working, everything's working great. Check your safety, put your safety on, squeeze the trigger. Just double check everything. Use a little common sense. Don't wait till the last minute. Keep it clean, keep it as dry as possible, and just treat it like you just spent $4 grand or whatever on a brand new pair of glass and how you're always cleaning. Keep your stuff clean. I was giving my buddy a hard time this year when he froze his gun. I was like, that's kind of your fault, like 100% your fault. So.